Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. We are going to get started, and we are at the International Conference for Stigma. It is November 20th, 2004, and I'm Dr. Froni Jackson. I am presenting today on becoming a storyteller to end stigma. And I just want to give you a little background on me. Um, I have my master's degree in PhD in public health. I started out my public health career doing HIV prevention work in Washington, D.C. Um, with actually women living with HIV. We were trying to educate them on how to prevent the spread of HIV. And I moved from there to a national platform where I ran a CDC grant for the National Council of Negro Women and traveled across the country to areas that were experiencing higher rates of HIV and teaching women in those sections how to do training to their communities on preventing HIV. I started working with the Stigma Conference back in 2011. Yes, 2011, more than 10 years ago, when I did a poster session with a student from Howard University. And it started in 2021, I started to do these becoming series. So the first one was becoming a peer educator to end stigma. The next one was becoming a mental health first aider to end stigma. Last year I did becoming well to accomplish self-care. And now this year, 2024, we'll be doing becoming a storyteller to end stigma. So that is a little bit about me. I'm gonna go to the next slide. And today, our objectives of this workshop, Becoming a Storyteller to End Stigma, is to introduce how to enhance our storytelling by using artificial intelligence, AI. We'll talk about that a little, but not a lot. We'll also do some skill building around stigma and how do we create our stories, build our stories to reduce stigma. And if we want to explore storytelling, the different roles we can play in storytelling. Now, by going through those items or objectives, I'm expecting by the end of the course that you'll have some understanding of AI's role in storytelling and create narratives, that you'll be able to create your own personal storytelling strategy, and that you'll have increased confidence in storytelling for reducing stigma. So our agenda today, we're going to do a welcome. Lower this screen so I can see my whole screen. We're going to do a welcome and an introduction. I sort of introduced myself just now. We're going to talk about crafting your stigma reducing story. We're going to talk about how AI can strengthen your stories. We'll share some feedback. We'll do that in the chat, and we'll create a personalized story strategy, and then we'll wrap up after that. So just let me officially welcome everyone to our workshop, Becoming a Storyteller to End Stigma. Today, we're going to explore how storytelling can be a powerful tool in challenging stigma, particularly surrounding HIV and chronic diseases. We'll look at how storytelling builds resilience, strengthens our connection to purpose, and encourages communities to adapt health positive behaviors. By the end of this workshop, you'll have a personalized storytelling strategy and confidence in using storytelling to foster well-being and community advocacy. So let's get going. All righty. So the power of storytelling. The power of storytelling has been used across cultures for centuries. It goes back to conveying beliefs, values, and it shares experiences. When done effectively, it makes complex issues relatable and engages listeners on a deeper level. By sharing personal stories related to health challenges and HIV or chronic diseases, we can reduce misconceptions, build empathy, and help break down barriers to stigma. Stigma can be public, right? Outward facing. It can be self-imposed or structural, and all types can have significant impacts on someone's quality of life. For instance, people living with HIV also often face discrimination that can discourage them from seeking care or connecting with others. So we're going to talk about today also, when we're telling our story, how we can use some tools. And one of the greatest tools, most recent created tools out there is this artificial intelligence, AI. And we're going to tap into a little bit as to how AI can assist us in telling stories. So before we get going, I want to ask, I'm just going to ask and have you put in the chat, what comes to mind when you think about storytelling and health advocacy? So when you think about telling the story, just, what comes to mind in regards to why would people want to tell stories about their health? Or why would people want to tell stories to advocate for health? Or what could some of the outcomes be from people telling stories about their health? Yes. Oh, I see we already have some chats going. Connection and awareness. Yes, thank you so much. That is definitely something that can come about from telling the stories about your health and telling stories to advocate for health. Telling stories to provide education, absolutely. To give other people courage to take ownership of their health, yes. And relevant language. These are all great. Every last one of them, thank you. Wonderful things that are coming to mind when we're talking about using storytelling as a way to advocate for health. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to also ask, empowering. It's definitely empowering. Very good. I'll wait I'll wait a minute or so and see if anyone else wants to hear anything else. Yes, 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 yes. So you hear your story and you're not alone. Right. That's that very first comment we got up there. It brings about connectiveness. You know that you're not alone, you're not by yourself. Other folks hear your story. You hear other folks' story, and you see that you have similarities. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. So I'm going to ask and put this in the chat as well. Briefly share a time when a story changed your perspective on a health-related issue. You might have been thinking about an issue or had a stance on an issue, but you heard someone's story and it changed your mind. And I'm going to share mine with you. Well, this was early 2000s, and I was, at that time, I was a massage therapist. I did massage therapy. I sat on the massage therapy board. I had a company. We went into organizations and we did massage therapy in the workplace. And I had a friend who was working as a social worker at a community-based organization that assisted women who were living with HIV. And they needed a massage therapist. And she asked me if I would go in and help. And I said, absolutely not. My focus is corporate and my focus is cancer patients. And, she never let up. She said, they really need a massage therapist. You really should consider it. Back then, Ryan White had a part in their grant, and it provided for complementary care and massage therapy, acupuncture, and some other things was under that. So she was persistent, and I gave in, and I went to the agency, and I met with I guess we have to call them customers now, but with the clients. And I did the massages, and it was a great experience. But those women at that agency invited me into their support group, and I had my massage chair. And I was massaging the women in the massage chair, and I was there, and I could, I was listening. I was listening to the stories. And after I heard their stories, my whole, their stories were life-changing in regards to my perception and my beliefs around people living with HIV and AIDS. Because honestly, after that story, hearing those stories and being in that meeting that day, I realized that the only reason I was on the backside of the massage chair providing the massages, as opposed to the client customer being in the massage chair receiving the massages, was by the grace of the Most High. Because our lives, hearing their stories, our lives were exactly the same pretty much. They didn't do anything different from what I've done in the past. So it was amazing to hear somebody else's story and to know how much connected I was to them and how I could have very well been in their shoes. So their stories really inspired me to want to work with women living with HIV. And as I continued to work in that space, I decided that I wanted to work in prevention and try to stop other women from contracting the virus. So, yeah, so I see folks are putting in the chat how other people's stories have changed their perspective on illnesses. So keep putting those in the chat. I see you, Sydney. Okay, you had some bias around substance use. That story, your friend's story helped you. Okay, Teresa, sickle cell pain. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing those. Anyone else want to share how somebody's story, and read the chat and see what folks are putting out there, how someone else's story has changed them? Yeah. Oh, is it Trenisa or Trenessa? That's great. Empowering, informative, and understanding empathy. That's how someone else's story has transformed you. I'll turn this off because I can't hear. Okay. Let's see some more. I had someone with congestive heart failure, cancer, and HIV. Okay. And then you've heard this story and it was able to change your perspective on those health conditions. Absolutely. Not to judge a book by its cover. You never know what anyone is going through. That's absolutely right. So hearing somebody's story, not taking what you first see, and listening can help you to change your perspective. Absolutely. Hearing stories about people with issues with opioid use. A lot of times people automatically just think, oh my God, they're substance abusers, and they go to something negative and not actually knowing the story. I've heard some stories of people who were substance abusers, and they simply started using those substances because they were ill or had chronic pain conditions, and they became dependent on those substances. So now I definitely have a different perspective on individuals who are dealing with those issues from hearing stories. Absolutely. That just Jatoya, you're absolutely right. So, after individuals don't have access to those medications, then they seek those medications from other means. Absolutely. Very good. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kelly. Absolutely right. Sometimes we found that our faith communities have not been really accepting of individuals living with HIV, but after they allow themselves to open up and listen to individuals who are living with the virus, they have a change of heart. Absolutely. So thank you all for sharing. I certainly do appreciate hearing all of those stories. I'm gonna move on now. And we're probably gonna sit. Oh, Francesca, very good point. Okay, is it any way we can turn on captions? And I didn't think about that. I was worried about you all being able to hear me. I didn't think about some of our participants who might have who may have some impairment around hearing, and captions would help out.
I'll look into it. I'll work on that in the background.
Thank you. I certainly do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And Francesca, thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. Appreciate it. So I am trying to move on to my next slide. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, very good. This is where I want to be. Thank you. Crafting your stigma reducing story. So now we're going to do the roll up your sleeves part and start doing some of the work for while we're actually here today. So in crafting the story, you want to do the 6 things I really want you to think about. But to make sure your story is structured in a compelling way, you should have what we call a hook. You should have what we call the struggle and a call to action or the resolution. And I'm gonna go into a little bit more detail about all of those items, but I'm gonna do a high level, then I'll go into do a deeper dive in just a moment. So that's the structure: hook, struggle, resolution. After we get the structure together, or even while we're thinking about our structure, we want to have some characteristics. Keep in mind some characteristics of an effective stigma reducing story. So those characteristics, the story should be authentic, and that it doesn't necessarily have to be your own personal story. You can be telling the story of someone else with their permission, or for someone else with their permission, but it should be real. It should actually have happened. Okay. To you or to someone else, to a family member or a coworker. Okay? It should be authentic. Humanizing. We want to focus on the person and what they were feeling, right? What they were feeling. That way it helps to bring about empathy. And I think I saw some of that in the chat earlier when we were talking earlier. People mentioned empathy a couple of times. So another characteristic of our story should be empowering. It should be empowering, especially at that end where we're talking about resolutions and calling to action. So empowering in that it helps people to have confidence. It shows self-determination, right? And it shows that a person is taking control of their life. We don't want the story to just simply be a woe is me, this is what happened, this is where I am now. We're trying to change and reduce stigma. So we want it to be empowering. We want to have a call to action or get to a resolution at the end. So when we talk about, I'm going to go back up now. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper into hook, struggle, and the resolution. So when we say hook, we are saying we want to pull them in, reel them in, right? What can we think about? What can we say? How can we frame our story to capture someone's attention. That's what we mean by the hook. And what can we do to make our story have a hook? Bring the person in. And when we talk about the struggle, we want to talk about the challenge that is taking place because of that health condition, be it HIV, be it diabetes, be it mental health. What are the struggles? What are the challenges? What is the person going through that's not favorable because of the condition? Right? And then just the resolution. What happened, right, in the story? So did the person who turned to getting illegal drugs from the street, did they turn around? Were they able to turn that action around and it be more positive? Was it something more sad or negative that happened? And this, what do we want to do about that? What happened and what is a call to action? Do we want to talk about having, if it turned out to be more negative, do we want to have a call to action to have more narcon on the streets by with police or emergency medical representatives? What do we want to happen from telling this story? What is our call to action? Right? In the story earlier that we heard with the faith-based and hearing the story from the individual who was living with HIV, do we want the faith, the church, or whatever faith entity it was, do we want them to open the doors or be more welcoming, change language around how they speak about people living with HIV? So what is the resolution or call to action in the story that we want to happen? Okay, so when we're creating our story, and we're going to do some work now, I want you to think about these 6 things: the hook, the struggle, the resolution or call to action. Those are the parts, the components of your story. They don't have to be paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs long. They can be a sentence each. Sometimes the shorter and the sweeter, the better. Because a lot of times we can't keep folks' attention. We have short attention spans, so we want to get it in. Hook them in, tell them about the story, and give them our call to action. Give them the resolution. But when we're doing that, we still need to make sure that it's authentic, that it's it's true, that is humanizing. We are talking about the person, and that is empowering. It's creating confidence for either that person or for somebody to help that person, or an organization to help that person. And also, I'm going to touch a little bit more on this humanizing part of it too. Even in our language that we use every single day, and I try to be very intentional, and sometimes I have to think about what I say and what I don't say. Now, when we were talking about the person who was suffering from substance use and had the opioid use, didn't say addict. The person is not an addict, right? The person is a human being. We need to humanize that individual in the story. We don't want to all completely and totally focus on the condition, but we want to focus on the person who has the condition. So it's the person with the substance use disorder, or with the opioid use disorder, or the person living with HIV. It's the person is not the condition. The person is a human, right? That we want to empathize with. It is not the illness that we want to empathize with. And the person is not the illness. The person is real, authentic, and human. And we want to empathize with that person and empower that person, or empower the person who's hearing the story to move, to be positive around that person, or to help create some positive actions for that condition. So, so now, with that being said, you can let me know in the chat if you have any questions about those 3 parts of the story, about those 3 characteristics of a stigma reducing story, because we're going to move to, actually, I'm going to give you some time to stop listening to me and move inward and listen to yourself and start to create your story. So I'm gonna check out the chat. Are there any questions about any of these 6 things I just talked about? Any clarification, let me know. And if so, I'll answer them. Give you some moment checking on the chat. And if not, what I'm going to have you do, I'm gonna have you do it individually. Initially, I was going to put you on breakout rooms and have you do this together, but I'm going to have you do it individually on your own, right where you are. What you're going to do is you're going to create your story. It doesn't have to be a full story. At this stage, it can just be an outline. So you can write my hook. My hook will be, and you will say what it is you will do to pull them in, or what words are you going to use that can trigger somebody to really listen, to focus on what you're saying. Then you write your struggle. And your struggle is, what were the challenges? What were the issues and concerns that were happening because of this condition? So not whole long paragraphs or big sentences. It can be one word. It can be an outline. And then a resolution. What would it take to fix it? What did it take to make it better? What's the call to action? Are you asking somebody to do something because of the struggle that the person was going through? And while you're doing that, make sure you're thinking about the story that's real, it's authentic. You're focusing on the person, and that you're doing it for empowerment of either the person or the condition or the person you're telling the story to. So take a few minutes. It is, based on my clock, it's 2:14. I'm going to give you, we have time. I think I go to 3. So it's time for you to work on your outline. I'm going to give you until 2:20 to work on your outline. 6 minutes to work on your outline. And if you're finished working on your outline, you can raise your hand. Now kind of get a feel for, I think you can do the raised hand reaction. I think if you go to more, you can do reactions for raised hand. And I can get a feel for how many folks have done. So right now we should be working on our outline for our story. So you are going to basically have 3 things: a hook, a struggle, and a resolution. If you want to do a whole sentence or even a whole paragraph on it, you can, but it doesn't have to be. It can just be bullet points. What is your hook? What would you do to reel them in, to grab their attention? The struggle, talk about the challenges. And a resolution, how can it be improved, or what would you want someone to do? Okay. Kenyatta, you said hook. Do you want me to talk more about the hook? Yes, okay, very good. So, how would I say this? So, your hook is sort of, it can be that catchy opening statement that gets the person to perk up and want to think about what you're saying and want to listen to it more. So some people are creative. They just are creative off the top. They're poets, they're rappers, they're wordsmiths. They know how to say things to get people's attention. So what would you say? What would you do to reel somebody in, to make them listen to your story? I'm hoping that helped a little bit. Go back to the chat. Kenyatta, does that help you out a little bit more with the hook? Yes. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Every time I see that word now, dandelion, I think about one of our warriors in this struggle. Um, always talked about dandelions. Um, People living with HIV as being dandelions. And then how would you expand on that? Yeah, the time. You got 2 more minutes. Struggle being normal, standing strong, acceptance. Yes, being normal, standing strong, and acceptance. So for Kenya, these are what the struggle is that it's difficult to be normal, to staying strong, or acceptance is that the struggle you're wanting those things, and that's not what's being what's presenting right now. All right, how are we doing with our outline and making certain that we have. Oh, I like that. Hook is undateable. Yes, can you right? That's the struggle. You got it. It's hard to obtain those things. That's the struggle. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Very good. Okay, so I've seen some hooks out here. I've seen some struggles. Um, since 220. Um, 220, we could do another few minutes. Resolution becoming fearless, unstoppable, fierce with a bite. Oh, wow. I like that a whole lot. So that's the resolution for the person. That's what's happened. Would you, Kenyatta, want to add? That's perfect. That's wonderful. I'm just wondering, would you add a call to action there? Because it sounds really like you're telling somebody's story. You talked about the hook, you talked about the struggles, and you talked about the resolution. That is perfect. So you're pretty much telling the story from the standpoint of bringing awareness to the person's situation, and that's great. You can take it a step further, and have a call to action. What would you like other people to do in regards to that story? What would you like other people to do to improve that situation or the person's situation who's actually experiencing that? Francesca, I love it. The struggle is criminalizing laws with lack of new knowledge. Yes. Let me go back up to your hook. Undateable. Okay. Lack of knowledge and criminalizing laws. Right. Response to get involved. Yes. I love that. That's your call to action. Yes. I was definitely thinking of Mary Bowman. I sure was. That's exactly what I can't even hear the word dandelions without thinking of Mary. Absolutely. 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 Gone too soon, gone too young. Absolutely. I was looking at one other thing that I wanted to get back to, going into the person full capabilities, intertwine such networking, breaking boundaries. Yes, I think you're getting it. This is great. I love what you're putting in the chat box. I love what you're sharing. Hook. I got another one out here. Rose Lewis, overcoming the fear of dying from HIV, struggle, lack of knowledge of the virus, resolution, HIV education, awareness, removing stigma, U equals U. Very good. Um, direct, very focused, very targeted, straight and to the point. That's the outline. Absolutely. Absolutely. These are great. These are very good. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, very good. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for sharing and not just having me here by myself. I love it when it's interactive and people are really participating. Thank you so much. Okay, Mariah, hook. You are not alone. Struggle, feelings. Okay, you're not alone. Good hook. Oh, wait a minute, Mariah's gonna get more. That's good. Okay, we're gonna stay here for a couple more minutes because I see more things coming in, and I want to read through them, make comments, and I want each of you to go in the chat and read what other participants have put out here. This is wonderful. I want to go back up to let's stop at Mariah. Okay. You're not alone was a hook. The struggle was a fear, unheard and misunderstood. Yes, 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 yes. And the action was to tell your story, to bring light to what you see as dark and heal on your journey. That's great. Trauma journey spans 4 continents, 4 countries, 4 languages. Wow. Anxiety was the driver and depression the passengers for decades. Very nice. I mean, that's a hook. Um, Is Morelli Von Hickman? Yes, that's a hook. That's definitely caught my attention. Trauma journey since 4 continents, 4 cultures, and 4 languages. Anxiety was a driver and depression a passenger for decades of education. Wonderful. Reading this, Francesca, I'm looking to see. You were telling us about being in the house session yesterday. Working on these for 10 to 12 years now to just get our first hearing yesterday. That's it. That's staying the course. I know 10 to 12 years seems like a long time to be working on something, but you stay the course. That's great. That's positive. That's awesome. Awesome. Oh my God, these are so wonderful. Okay, awesome. Okay, we had 225. I think I'm going to, oh, wait a minute. I got another one. I got another one. Hook. Art from my lens without a paintbrush. That is good. And are you playing on art? Okay, I love it. Okay. All right, so we're gonna keep going. You got a hook. Tranessa, what's your struggle? And feel free to comment on folks on folks comments out here. I'm reading all of them. I'm so distracted because I'm reading them all. Sydney, good. There were no clinics in Mississippi where I could get tested discreetly. Okay, so I'm in. You don't reeled me in with that first sentence. Yeah. Being at my mother's house did not help. There was no way. Okay, there was no way he'd tell her what I was feeling, so I could take. Okay, struggle. That's a hook and a struggle. So I waited until I could get back home to California. And your resolution. What had I done? Very good. Awesome. That is awesome. These are wonderful. Okay, you guys have an outline. You even have more than an outline. Some of you guys have gone further than an outline, which is good. So we've gotten hooks, struggles, and resolutions. They seem quite authentic, humanizing, and very much empowering. Very good. Were you thinking of, yeah, okay, I got that one. Answer that one. Struggle, born in the world and having part of my world, no choice, going and learning to create masterpiece on my canvas. I love it. I want to just kind of chime in quickly with something. With the art piece, I was at the International HIV conference in Germany this past summer, and there was an exhibit, and it was HIV Science is an Art, and it was fabulous. So they brought scientists together with artists who were living with HIV. And the research that the scientists were doing, they explained what they were doing to the artists. So the artists then interpreted in their creative mind using their specialties and mediums that they use to create their art and came up with these fabulous art pieces. So, and one of the artists was blind as well. There were quilts and ceramic art and wire art and photographs, but the artist had taken the scientist's research and made it into this masterpiece. So then it made for more conversations. They were telling the story in a different way. They were telling the story about the scientist's work, about the research, but they were telling it from this creative, colorful, 3D, imaginative way. And that was fabulous. If you can find that, it is called HIV Science is an Art, and it was sponsored by ViV Healthcare, and it was fabulous. And if you can't find it, you're gonna have my contact information at the end of this presentation. Send me an email, and I will send you some of the pictures from that art exhibit, but it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. You all have done a fabulous job. I'm going to move on because it's 2:30. I went a little bit longer than I wanted because it's 2:30. So now I want to talk a little bit about AI. And I know AI is not new to most folks. Thank you for advancing that slide for me. And so I'm not doing um, what is it? An example of how to do AI. I'm gonna talk you through something. I may share a different screen, talk you through something that I did earlier with AI. So AI shouldn't tell you a story. Okay, artificial intelligence, not human. It should not tell your story. Remember, one of the characteristics we said was the stories have to be humanized, right? And they have to be authentic. So you don't allow AI to tell your story. What you do with AI, artificial intelligence, is I'm gonna try to find the screen that I have, is you give it prompts. Like everything that you've given in this chat today, you give those prompts to AI and let it enhance it. Let it give you suggestions. Let it help you with different words. And I am trying to see if I can show you documents. Let's go back to screens. I could have sworn I had opened it up. Um, Lord, this one. No, but I'm gonna tell you what it says. So I went into AI. I use Chat GPT. This is the one that I use. And am I sharing again? I'm trying to share again. I think I stopped sharing. I didn't mean to stop sharing though. Okay. Okay, so there are different kind of AI tools. I like Chat GPT for this kind of thing, but then you can use Canva AI, and it does more images if you wanted to give your story some images. And then there's Synestia, and that is like a video if you want to change your story and make it not just words or not just images, but actually moving videos. So those are three tools. I always start with ChatGPT. I guess it's because it's the first one that I ever used. So I'll kind of go back to what I'm used to using. So with ChatGPT, I gave it prompts. And I'm gonna see, I should be able to share what I gave it. I'm really kind of upset that I'm not being able to do this. I think I might get it this time. Here and share. Okay, I think I changed my screen. Give me a thumbs up if you see a different screen and it says Chat GPT off to the left-hand corner. You see it, perfect. Okay, thank you. So what I'm gonna do is, I went into Chat GPT. Okay, let me go back to that story I want to show you. Here's the story I want to tell you. Okay, so I asked ChatGPT, as you can see here, help me to write my quick short story about stigmatizing experiences with generalized anxiety disorder, which is what I have. Include my hook. And then my hook, talk about how I'm always worried. Right? So I'm always worried. That was my hook. I'm always worried. That's what I wanted to use as my hook to bring people in. My struggle. I told her my struggle was I can't share with others. It's hard to talk to this about other people. And I wanted my resolution to be a call for action. And I wanted to find out how to get people to support me and make people aware of, the issues for people living with generalized anxiety disorder. I told them Chat GPT to make sure they humanize my experience, that it was my unique experience, and that they focus on me as a person and empowering. The story was to be empowering, how it was to help other people, help me, and help me to help other people understand what's going on. So I typed this in. This is what I'm telling ChatGPT that I wanted. But you see, I'd already put in my hook. I told her what my hook was. I told her what my struggle was. And I told her what my resolution and my call to action, what I wanted for my resolution and call to action. Now here's what ChatGPT came back to me with. This was the story. I've always been a worrier, but this wasn't the kind of worry that comes and goes. This was the kind that latches on and never let go. It started as a quiet in my chest, but this little hum in my chest, but over time it grew louder, filling every corner of my mind, because that's what my generalized anxiety does to me. Interesting. I didn't tell Chat GPT all of that. It is pulling from all of its sources and it's pulling this together based on what I said. What if I forget something? These are the things that go through my head, and it is. What if I forget something that's important? What if I say the wrong thing? What if everything goes wrong? That's worrying. So it's putting these questions in there, these statements in there that reflects back to worrying, right? These weren't fleeting thoughts. They were my constant companions. As I said, always. So it created this sentence to reference or recognize that these things are happening ongoing. Okay, that was my hook. And what it said for my struggling with generalized anxiety disorder felt like carrying an invisible weight. Okay, most days I managed to smile and appear fine, but inside I was unraveling. That's a struggle that you got to appear good when you're not good, you're unraveling. Um, Explaining it to others was a struggle. How do you put into words that you're constantly exhausted from that? Not from doing too much, which is what people say all the time, you're doing too much, but that wasn't it. It was because I was feeling too much, always on worry, always having to be on point and making sure everything was okay, right? I worried people would see me as weak and incapable, so I kept my battles to myself. A lot of times people don't share their mental health issues because it is seen as a weakness. And that was a struggle with me. So, and that made me feel lonely and overwhelmed, right? I just needed someone to understand. And this is kind of what I wanted my resolution to be. I wanted somebody to understand. I wanted somebody to listen to me. I wanted not to be judged. Okay, the turning point came when I mustered the courage to open up to a close friend and was terrified, but their response wasn't what I feared. This wasn't what I feared, right? They didn't shun me. They didn't dismiss me. They listened to me. And then I'm gonna go down, down, down to my call to action was I wanted somebody to be a friend, to be a listener, to educate. I want people to educate themselves about mental health and to speak out against stigma. Okay. Together we can create a world where people like me feel safe to share their stories, a world where no one has to carry the weight of anxiety alone. But sometimes the best way to help someone is simply to understand them. That goes back to empathy. So it's interesting. From this blurb right here that I gave to Chat GPT, I gave them my hook, my struggle, and my resolution or call to action. It created this story. Now I can go in here, I can copy this, and I can change it up any way I want. But this is a good starting point for an actual story. It helped me. Because sometimes I just don't know where to start. I just don't know how to pull things together. Um, so using this tool really helped me to really be able to express myself. Most of it is what I think. Some of it I would delete. And even you can even go back here to Chat GPT and you can say, um, make I treat Chat GPT like they're human. I probably shouldn't. You are on the right track. Go deeper with the resolution. Yeah, I don't type well. Um, I can ask it to do that. And it'll go and it'll do exactly what I asked it to do. See, it'll change up. Go down further. I'm waiting for it to get to the resolution because that's what I asked it to go deep into. Okay, I got some chats. I got you. I'm gonna go into them, but you see, it added to my resolution. All right, let me go in the chat. I prefer to be affirmed in my feelings rather than understood. I'm always that's good. And see, it's different definitely for every person. I jump and let me go back up to Darren. Yep, I feel the constant tiredness as well. Yeah, so people understand where I'm coming from, right? And for I like that too, being affirmed in my feelings rather than understood. I think that's really good. I think that's good. Um, feelings. Okay, through every valley I travel, I can relate that thing. But I like that. That's a good way of looking at it too, being affirmed in your feelings. Right. Because sometimes people won't ever really understand what you're going through. That's what we're doing with empathy. We're trying to get people, we're trying to understand folks. But even if people can just accept, and when you're saying affirmed in your feelings, I'm taking that as is you would rather people to accept what you're saying and what you're feeling is what you're feeling. They don't necessarily have to really understand it, but if they even recognize, acknowledge that what you are going through, what you're saying you're going through. I like that. That's a really good way to look at it. Really good way to look at it. Okay, so I want to have you all 2:44. I think I have 15 minutes to go, I think. Um, okay. So I'm gonna stop sharing this and thank you for sharing in the chat. Anybody else have any questions or thoughts on working with an artificial intelligence tool to help you with your story? See how you don't want it to tell your story? Because we could have gone in there and said, hey, Chat GPT, create a story about a person with, there's that, so I can take a picture. Yep, I'll do that. Tell a story about a person living with generalized anxiety disorder, and it'll create a story for you. But you want to tell it your story and have it give you some, have it beef it up, give you some different words, give you some other things to think about. Let me go back to the slide. I'm going to stop sharing here. And that might be, is this the slide that you were referring to? Oh, I may not be sharing it. Hold on. Share, here, share. All right, this one. Is this the slide you were referring to? Let me know in the chat. One question I missed it. There's feedback and noise on the presenter side. TV sounds on. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just now seeing this. I don't have a TV on. I'm here in silence by myself. There's nobody else in here with me. And I'm sorry, I'm just noticing this. And I'm hoping that it was addressed and you still don't hear any background noise because there's nobody else, nothing else on around me. Could just be my computer and the internet connection. But who wanted me to share the last slide? Tell me if this was a slide. Oh, there you go. Yes. Okay, perfect. All right, awesome. Yep, and I think the slides will be available through the Stigma conference as well, through the WAHA link also. So yeah. Okay, any thoughts on if you would use AI to help you with your story? Yes, okay. Yes, thank you. And or if you wouldn't, what are your thoughts on having the artificial intelligence help beef you up? Thank you on the glasses. Thank you. Hmm. Awesome. I'm glad it was good and it was helping. It was helpful. Okay, well, I just have a couple little ending things and I think, I'm not 100% sure. I think I ended three. It may be sooner, but I just had a couple little more slides I want to get through. Never pay writers to be authentic about your journey. Exactly, Robin Graham. Good point. Never pay a writer to be authentic about your journey to recovery or at all. It has to come from inside. It has to come from you. I totally agree. You are the best person to tell your story, right? You outline it. I mean, they can beef it up. They know the language. They can speak the King's English and they can, but you have to tell the story. You have to give it to them so they can tell it. You have to give it to them so they can tell it. Absolutely. No AI chat for my writers. Okay. Yeah. And it's different for everybody. And it's, so you don't have to use the AI for writing. You can use AI to help you find images, if you want to describe it and with visuals, and that Canva AI is really useful for that. Or if you want AI to create some movement for you, videos, you can use the Synthesis AI tool, and it can create videos for you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad it was informative. I'm going to I'm going to go through these last couple of slides because usually when people tell you that, telling you about the workshop, it's time to go. So I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to go to the next slide. And then I'm going to move through so we can get through. Okay. Okay, so we talked about, remember, we did an outline earlier with a hook, a struggle, and a resolution. I was going to have you all actually write out a full story. We probably don't really have time about it, but just look at this slide and then you can take a picture of it. But just think about suggestions or how you can, after you have finished your outlines and you've already done that, how you can be really clear, how you can pull more emotional impact and cultural sensitivity into your story, right? So when you're working on your stories, think about those things as well. We won't have time to do them here today, but just think about those. But because I do want to talk about this really quickly, and this is having a strategy for creating your story. So we have like the components of the story, right? We have the characteristics of the story. So now I want to just talk a little bit about having your story strategy. So in your story strategy, you want to you identify your themes, right? So my theme was worrying, all throughout. I was talking about worrying. I don't know if I really talked a lot about advocacy. Well, maybe I did because I wanted to talk to people about how they approach people with anxiety disorders. I'm advocating with people with anxiety disorders. So have some kind of advocacy component in your story. And so I was just going to have you do a workshop, but we have 9 minutes left, a worksheet. We have 9 minutes left, so we won't do it. But in your strategy, be consistent and think about advocating, using your story for advocacy, for advancing the condition or the illness or disorder. So we don't want to just tell the story to tell the story. You don't want to tell the story to tell the story. We're telling the story for a purpose, right? We're telling the story because we want to help somebody else. We may be telling the story because we need to help. It's healing for ourselves. Right? So we want to think about it from that standpoint. So when you're creating the story, your strategy, think about the goal. Why are you telling the story? Is it for you? Is it for healing? Is it for you to bring awareness to the condition or the situation? And then, craft your plan. be consistent, right? We talked about our three elements: hook, struggle, resolution. So I want to make sure we have those in our storytelling. And then I know we got a couple minutes, so wrap it up. You can let me know in the chat, and I have gotten some comments already if the workshop was useful for you. But what I do want to do is put this page up here. This is my contact information. This is how you can reach me. I'm on LinkedIn, Frony Jackson, PhD. I'm on Twitter, I guess it's X now, and that's Walking in DC, because my organization is called Walk. Walk equals an active, like walk means it's an acronym for wellness equals an active lifestyle and knowledge, WALK. And my personal X is Frony_PhD. I'm on Instagram. The business Instagram is Walking in DC, again, because the organization is called Walking. And my personal one is PJ50 in 2013. Guess what that means? Put that in the chat. And then I'm on Facebook, again, Walking in DC or Frony Jackson. So let me, so take a snapshot of that. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for attending. Please, my contact information is out there. Use it. I'd love to hear from you all. If there's something you want me to send you, please let me know, and I will be happy to send it out to you. Please feel free to reach out to me. Hey, Lily, how are you? Thank you so much for sitting in on my session. Yes. So, Kelly, email me and I'll send you a list of resources. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you for attending. I appreciate it. I hope it was helpful. I hope there was some information from the session that you can use. I know you could have been anywhere right now, but you were here with me, and that I am very grateful for. So thank you so much. I want to thank all of the folks over at Howard with the Stigma Project for allowing me to present and for having this conference. I think it's a wonderful conference with fabulous information and presenters every year. I'm presenting from home today, but I'm gonna get out of here shortly and make sure I get over to campus so I can rub elbows with some real people in person. So thank you all for being here and allowing me to speak. Okay, and I'm gonna leave it on this slide for a while so you can copy down, take a picture of my contact information, and please reach out. Trying to see if there was actually a resource at the bottom of that slide. No, yeah, it wasn't. I'll email you the resource. Just send me an email and I'll email you a list of resources. Okay, I will keep it here until 3. If anybody else has any other questions. Don't think I see anything else in the chat. And Henrietta, yes, absolutely, we do. And Lily, I just put the email in the chat for you. I think I sent it directly to you, but it's also on this slide right here at the top. Okay, Robin, I'll definitely reach out to you. I'll take a picture of that so I can remember to do that. And you have my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me as well. Just gonna take a picture, makes it easier for me. Okay, well, thanks everyone. It's been a pleasure. Again, thank you so much for allowing me to present. Thank you for spending the afternoon with me. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the conference.